Welcome to Creator Conversations, a monthly series where we sit down with top LinkedIn creators to talk about their challenges, triumphs, dreams, successes, and more. See what inspires them to create content and engage with communities around the world.
Hi, welcome to Creator Conversations. I'm your host, Scott Rising, and we are coming to you live from our New York office in the Empire State Building. Today we're talking about the phenomenon of career cushioning. What exactly is that, and why are people talking about it now? For some housekeeping, I always love to see where people are tuning in from, so let's see some of that in the chat. We also love to see your questions and comments, so share those as well. Career cushioning, quiet quitting, what is with all the alliteration? Our career expert Catherine Fisher was just on CBS Mornings speaking about this very concept. We have a clip from her explaining it.
Are you really happy in your job? Do you find that you're looking at all those job postings, maybe replying to some recruiter emails and taking lots of coffee chats? Well, that is because you're career cushioning. And really what that means is you're keeping your options open in the event that you need a new job, whether it's because of job uncertainty or just a great opportunity comes up. Think of it as you're hedging your bets.
In times where there are economic uncertainty, it's understandable that people might want to find ways to prepare themselves in case they were to lose their jobs. I might argue that you are career cushioning right now by tuning in to watch this show. And today I have two guests with me to further help break down this concept. First, we have best-selling author and host of the Happier with Gretchen Rubin podcast, Gretchen Rubin.
Hello.
Gretchen. And next we have founder and CEO of Hire Black Now and Career Click, Niani Tolbert.
Hi, Scott.
Hey, Niani. Now I want to ask you, Niani, who should be career cushioning?
Yeah, Scott, I think everyone should be career cushioning at this time, no matter what industry you're in, no matter what career level that you're in, like what management level, or even if you're a freelancer or a business owner. Everyone should be career cushioning because what's going on in the economy is so uncertain. And we want to make sure that if there is an opportunity, that you will be able to grab that opportunity as quickly as possible in case anything happens.
Yeah, I think it's, you don't want to miss out on anything because you didn't take the necessary preparations ahead of time. Now, what should people keep in mind, Gretchen, with when they are thinking about starting to career cushioning?
Well, there's several things you might think about. One is like, are there skills or licensing certifications, skills that you could be gaining? Is your resume up to date? Is your network? I know you're very focused on the power of the network. Like, is that fresh? Because you don't want to just reach out to people when you need something. You want to feel like you've got that ongoing relationship. And I think a great thing to do is to have like a brag file. Keep track of every time you get a compliment, you do well on a presentation, because you think, well, how am I going to forget that we won a Webby Award? But when the time comes, again, it's being prepared, being ready to jump on an opportunity, and feeling secure knowing that you're ready if you need a cushion because there's some kind of shock coming. You can look at all the accolades and positive reinforcement, and if you feel blue, you have something to look at that will help you feel more encouraged.
Exactly. I think a brag file has many good uses for your annual review.
Yes.
For your mental health. You go and sit down there and you're like, what happened this last year?
It's all a blur.
Totally. And Niani, with your network, talk a little bit about that concept of sort of like nurturing your network.
Yeah, and I read somewhere it said your network is not a war. So it's not like you are, you're not actually trying to hunt for people, right?
You're
not out here. Right. And so it's more so a farm. So you have to nurture a relationship. So you are constantly watering, constantly figuring out who's good for you, maybe weeding out the people who may not bring that positive nature to you. And so what I also do is think about your network is quality rather than quantity, right? So many people go to conferences and they think, I need to go and meet 100 people. And then they don't even follow up with the people. And so how are you actually taking in maybe 1 or 2 people from a conference, but staying in touch with them? And that's intentional. Sometimes I might plan, I need to reach out to someone at least once every 3 or 4 months. And I might write that in my schedule so that I'm doing that. It's really important to maintain those relationships, and instead of trying to put a bunch of people that you can reach out to if you need help, you're actually just maintaining actual friendships or just relationships of people who you just want to know that can actually help you if you need something in the future.
One thing I do is that if I have any reason to say congratulations to somebody, or if something reminds me of them, I do something very quick because it's that nurturing. But I'm reminded to do it because something on the outside, or I take advantage of that outside nudge.
Right.
Yeah, I mean, if you see something funny online and you send it to someone, it's just like...
You're like, oh, this was like when we were having drinks and that funny thing happened, and now I'm thinking of you.
Yeah. I mean, and when someone literally thinks, when I literally think of someone, I literally say, hey, I've just thought about you. And I love those kind of texts. And I know that there's many times that I could just think of Scott or maybe just think of you. Just shooting someone a text and say, hey, something made me think of you. Just wanted to see if you were okay, or I hope you're having a great day. It doesn't even have to mean starting a conversation. Just let someone know that you're thinking of them.
And that's less intimidating.
Absolutely. And also just thinking about how you can be useful to your network.
You
know, really, how can you step up? And that in a way is a preparation. Do you want to talk about that?
No, absolutely. I mean, there's so many reasons. Like, research shows that you make yourself feel happier, for one thing, because doing a good deed really makes us feel good. It reminds us, especially if we're feeling like discouraged or insecure, it reminds us that we have something to offer, we have something to give. Clearly, it's if you're trying to nurture a relationship, going with a gift or an opportunity is a great way, so that then if you need to ask for a favor, it feels more reciprocal and not like you're just always the one making demands. And it's just the right thing to do. It's like we should all behave the way we wish other people would behave. And if other people are like, hey, I have a possible client for you, or hey, these 2 people live in Philadelphia, why don't you guys like get together? Or, you're in the same business, you don't have any coworkers, get together. People appreciate it even if it doesn't work out. So you've strengthened a relationship. And then if it does work out, well then, the world's a better place.
Right. I agree, Gretchen. And something that I always joke about is saying that I wish that LinkedIn had a take me to coffee feature where they can kind of like send a $5 card and say like, hey, would you like to have coffee with me? And then maybe that's a $5 gift card in exchange for like a slot on someone's time for maybe a 15-minute chit chat, right? And so I always joke about that because it's something that I do. I either take someone to lunch and give them $25 and say, hey, I just want to get to know you. Can I take you to a virtual lunch?
Right.
Can I take you to a virtual coffee? Send them a $5 Starbucks gift card? Because, everyone is so busy at this time, but everybody likes lunch and coffee, right? And so if you're going to take their lunchtime, maybe compensate them for that or gift them instead for that.
One thing that I sometimes found confusing, and I found a solution, is like if it's a person where they're like, are you trying to be friends, or are we trying to like help each other professionally? Because sometimes it's like you're like, I could be fine with both, but I want to know where you're coming from. So I'll say to somebody like, I would love to talk shop with you. I'd love to talk shop. Let's talk shop. And then you're like, Gretchen wants to talk shop with me, and then maybe we'll become friends, but that's what we're leading with. And I think sometimes that like a lack of clarity sometimes makes us not want to move forward because we don't want to feel uncomfortable.
Yeah, and I think that's a much better frame than I'd like to pick your brain, which, people like, okay, that talking shop sounds like much more of like a mutual exchange of information and ideas.
I never thought about it. That's true, though. Oh, that's true. It's kind of a slight shift in vocabulary changes the kind of the expectation of the relationship.
And I just also want to say that it's also possible for someone to talk shop with someone even if they have less experience than the person that they're
100%.
Right?
Absolutely.
Your experiences matter. And so it's maybe someone who just got out of college wants to talk to a VP of marketing. What can they do? What do they know that they can bring to the table to the conversation? Maybe something about TikTok, maybe something about trends and using that in that industry. So no matter where you are, you can talk shop with someone else.
Yeah, I think my
really
my first internship, my VP liked having me around because it was in automotive and I didn't know anything. So it was like, what is the person who doesn't know
Right.
anything?
Yeah.
What is their perspective? So I can
Right.
help shape.
It's not a bug, it's a feature. I know nothing about cars.
Yeah, exactly. And I want to talk a little bit about sort of the mindset when it comes to career cushioning. You know, Gretchen, what is like a more positive framework for the way people need to think about this? Because I mean, you could be coming from a real place of fear. Like I
Right.
am career cushioning because I am really scared and nervous.
Right. Well, I think there's two reasons that career cushioning can really put us in a more positive frame of mind. One is it can give us a sense of safety. So we're feeling insecure, but we're like, okay, I'm doing what I need to do. I'm updating all my profiles. I'm getting licensing. I'm getting experience. I'm getting everything. And so I feel safer. And then it also makes me feel freer because it's like I have opportunities. If something happens, I'll be ready to like think about what's next. That could be really exciting. Maybe I'll even want to think about whether I would want to do that on purpose and not have it happen to me. But either way, I'm going to have a sense of safety and I'm going to have a sense of opportunity.
Yeah, that's so great. And Niani, it's a good segue to a clip from one of your recent LinkedIn lives that kind of explores mindset.
As we think about all these things, and we're talking about all of our strengths, and we're talking about the secret sauce and all of these things, and you're thinking about, wait, what can I put? What can I write? What can I do? Right? I want you guys to understand and remember that when you exist in spaces that weren't built for you, which is most of us, right? Remember that sometimes just being you is the revolution.
So Niani, talk about that concept about like what you bring to the table just being yourself.
Yeah, I think a lot of people forget about the strengths that they have in their lives, everyday lives, right? So there are some strengths that you may have, such as humor. And if you bring humor to the office, or you're able to even manage stakeholders with your humor and establish relationships.
Personality hire, hey.
Exactly.
Reduce conflict.
Manage conflict
Yeah.
because you're able to have that.
Yeah.
Like that is something that you can bring to the table in addition to your experiences. Let's say you're a mother and you've had to project manage a lot of things. That's some things that you can bring to the table. And so be really focused on the things that you're very strong at. And a mindset hack that I like to have is to really try to invest time and energy into your strengths rather than trying to focus on your weaknesses or your challenges, right? A lot of people think, how can I fix something that is someone else's gift? Instead, how can you focus on your own gifts and how can you enhance that and articulate that in any type of situation? Because you might have a lot of experience and a lot of stories to talk about your strengths.
Yeah, absolutely. And next up, I do want to share another clip that is also about mindset, and that is a clip from Gretchen's LinkedIn Learning course, Gretchen Rubin, on creating great workplace habits.
A question that comes up all the time, of course, is, okay, I want to start a good new habit, but when do I begin? Where do I begin? How do I begin? Now, the strategy of the clean slate is one of the best times to begin. And this is the strategy that takes advantage of the fact that whenever we have a major transition, all our old habits are wiped away. And so new habits can crowd in much more easily.
So Gretchen, in the concept of the clean slate, in some ways being laid off is one of the most dramatic clean slates you can imagine. So this is in preparation. So what is the difference between being forced into maybe a clean slate or trying to get your headspace there?
Well, a clean slate is really useful sort of framework to think about because when we go through that huge transition, new habits can rush in. But what we can do in advance is think, well, if I did go through that transition, what would my ideal life look like? And that sometimes is sort of less threatening to think about. It allows you to lucid your imagination and think about possibilities. I think post-pandemic, a lot of people are thinking, wow, what I thought was just sort of like the architecture of life, maybe I can rethink it. But like, let's say you said to yourself, well, if I got laid off and I had a new job, well, when I start that new job, I would decide that I'm going to get up 45 minutes earlier every day and work on that novel. Well, then you could say, You could do that right now. You don't have to wait for that transition, but sometimes there's something about imagining this alternate future that somehow unleashes our imagination and lets us think about different possibilities. So it could actually bring a lot of energy into your life right now, as well as preparing you if you do have to go through that transition.
Yeah, definitely. And, we have a comment from someone in the audience, Benati. I personally call career cushioning career discovery.
Well, exactly.
Yeah, which is just it just so shows you the importance of reframing some of these concepts so that you can come at it from a more positive place. And we also have a comment from Lakita. As someone who works in social media, people are often, this is a question, often weary of connections reaching out. So how does one fix that?
Well, one thing is, to your point, is it's not a numbers game, and I don't think that you have to feel responsible for people who are just sort of like blasting it out. This is about nurturing people you actually have a connection with, and I don't think people are as tired by that.
Yeah, I think that another thing is really enhancing, and this is a little plug for LinkedIn.
Oh, good.
But making sure that you're enhancing your profile so that people can kind of understand who you are if you are reaching out to them.
Right.
And some of your experience that you have.
Right.
I think that's something that people can utilize a lot that I don't see is the featured section. So maybe having a featured section that has your social media experience, your portfolio attached to it, or something that you wrote, so that if someone is kind of looking you up before responding, that they know exactly who you are, right? Because you're a stranger to them. And so it might be good to give someone some reinforcement of who the stranger is, maybe how they think, how they process. And so I would definitely say to try to make sure that you can be found and searched and Googled as well through your LinkedIn.
Well, because then the connection makes sense. It doesn't feel like you're just randomly contacting anybody and seeing who you can get. Yeah.
And I always say shoot your shot. In my line of work, rejection is it's just every day.
Well, that's important right there.
You're just gonna get some no's. You're gonna get some people who don't respond to you. But Kobe took a lot of shots.
Right.
And he missed a lot of shots, but he won a lot. And so often I say, shoot your shot. You never know what may come from it. And if you have the preparation and your bio ready, your LinkedIn ready, you never know where that shot can go. I started Hire Black from a viral LinkedIn post. And I had no idea where that was going to go. And I also have a lot of mentors that I met through LinkedIn because I saw that they liked my post. And I was like, oh, hey, I'm Niani. Can we talk? Let's talk.
Yeah.
And so being engaging and making sure that you are just showing off what you're doing is a great way to make sure that you are establishing connections. And don't be afraid of the no's. It's fine.
I guess I'm going to talk more about my VPs throughout my career, but one of them always said, don't reject yourself before I have the chance to.
Right.
With the idea of that, it's always going to be no if you don't even ask.
Right.
Yeah.
Well, one thing I remind myself is that if I'm not failing, I'm not trying hard enough. And so it's sort of like proof of trying. Because if you're only getting yeses and everything's going through, then maybe you're being too cautious, too conservative, and you need to push yourself out of your zone to try to make those more those connections that are a little bit further reach. But there's all the research about loose ties. That's where we really gain a lot of benefit is from loose ties, and just connecting with somebody on social media. That's a pretty loose tie, but for your shows, it can really pay off.
Yeah, I think that also about the career, about when you feel as though you're not challenged enough in your career and you're not failing enough in some ways.
Yes.
Maybe you're stagnant. Maybe it's time to get ready to go somewhere else. Stay ready so that you can get ready to go somewhere else, right?
Yes.
And so
Great
you should
line.
always feel like
that's a T-shirt.
Right.
You got to have
stay
on
ready
a
so
coffee
you don't have
mug.
to get ready. I didn't make it up. It's
RuPaul says it all the time.
Oh, yeah, right.
Yeah.
Oh, well, new to me. In my mind, you get credit.
And so, when you're thinking about your career, if you're not feeling a little bit behind, like, oh, I need to catch up.
Right.
Then maybe it's time for you to get ready to move on up.
Or maybe you're complacent. You're not thinking about all the things that you're not learning and you don't know. Right. So career cushioning is just a great way to kind of maybe shake yourself up and remember, things can change. I might have a really cushy job right now, but I need a different kind of cushion.
That's exactly right, Gretchen, because it's not always coming from a place of you may not even be worried about your job. You may love your job.
Yes.
But it's better to get ready now and to be prepared, and so that when that changes, you're able to adjust. I was given the advice that you should start looking for a job before you're ready to leave, because that is a long process.
Yeah.
And so, by the time you actually find it, then maybe you are ready.
Yeah, I think that people should be taking jobs even if they're not even ready to leave. I mean, taking interviews before they're even ready to leave, because you can learn a lot. I was a tech recruiter, and so I was always reaching out to people as a sourcing people, and you can learn about what the market is willing to pay you, right?
Yep.
You can learn about what other opportunities there are. So sometimes you might land in being considered for an opportunity and not even knowing that this is where your next step can take you. And you see there's so much stuff going on to where some people may get laid off after 15 years because they're so connected to their brand or their company. But, things can happen. So always put yourself out there. You never know what can happen.
Well, and that's a great example of why it's good to be gaining new skills or licensing or certification, because you might have a great opportunity that you never thought of, but they're like, oh, but we need you to be able to do X, Y, Z.
Exactly.
And if you're like, well, I can pull that out of my back pocket, then you're ready, and you don't have to worry about not being prepared.
Exactly. A lot of people say, well, when I become a manager, then I'll get the certification.
Oh.
When I become a director, I'll get the certification. No.
Get the certification for the job you want.
Yeah.
Not the job you have.
Exactly.
Yeah, dress for the job you want. It's like, get certified for the job. Yeah, right.
We're trying to step into that.
It's a cause, not an effect. Oh, that's interesting. Yeah.
Yeah, and I do feel like one of the most common things we hear when people are looking for a new job is that, and it's been they're out of practice. They've been in the same company.
Yeah.
What they say is, I haven't interviewed in 5 years, 10 years, whatever, however many years. So to your point about taking those interviews, that is a skill.
Exactly.
So we talk about building skills. Interviewing is a skill. Cover letters are a skill, even if we as a company are very anti-cover letter. These are all skills that have to be sort of honed, and you honed through doing them. So if any of my people are watching, I'm just practicing. I'm not looking for a new job, just so you know.
Yeah.
And speaking of skills, what are some other skills you think are really important in terms of career cushioning? And maybe, Gretchen, I'll start with you about just general skills, because obviously you're going to have very specific to your industry.
Well, I think one skill, and maybe this is a little amorphous, but I think it's very important, which is to be able to look at your past, and it kind of goes back to what you were saying earlier about what are my strengths? What do I do well? When I have not done well, or if I feel like I'm letting myself down or others down, what is that? And to try to step back and analyze it, not to just sort of let it pass over you, but to try to have some perspective so that you have a narrative to tell yourself about where you've been and where you're going. And look, failure is the way we learn. A lot of times the best lesson comes from something that you screwed up. If you've ever hit reply all instead of just reply, you'll never make that mistake again. And so it's to have the skill of reflection, to learn from your past successes and perhaps even more your past failures, so that as you move forward you feel like you're growing. And it also takes the sting out of any kind of bad experiences they had. You mentioned VPs. I'm sure you've had many great VPs and many less great VPs. And if you're like, okay, well, that was bad, I don't really look back on that as a great experience, but what did I learn? I learned what I don't want to do. I learned what to avoid. I learned how to handle myself in different things. So I think this skill of reflection is a really important skill as we move forward.
That's a really great one. And also just how do you tell the story of your career? How are you framing these successes, these failures, the journey that your career went on? How are you casting it in the best light so that, and that takes reflection. You have to have this in mind so that
it's creative, it's hard.
Yeah, you really have to craft that versus just sort of winging it. And you think, oh, I've got an elevator speech. It's no. That's a totally different thing.
Right. And I agree with what Gretchen said earlier. You said brag file. I call it brag book.
Oh, yes, there you go. We're going to have volumes.
I call it brag book because it's going to be too big, right?
Yeah.
And so always reflecting on, what went well, right? What maybe not have went so well, but also making sure that you are kind of matching. I typically say, when people say, what is your North Star, right? Where's your North Star? How has your North Star changed throughout your career? And so I say, take a step back. Don't focus on your North Star. Take a step back and see, where does the constellation? What is the bigger message that your career has said? Is your career all about women's empowerment? Is your career all about diversity, equity, and inclusion? Is your career about building systems, right? And so that may be what your brag book is. So you don't have to say, hey, well, I'm actually turning a new page. I need to start a new file. I need to start a new book. Instead, you're just adding things to that page, right? Another thing is, when we talk about reflection, I always tell people to stay ready by having career stories. So when you go into an interview,
this is really key.
You're not starting from scratch, right? You are always coming in and really getting people to dive deeper into the story that you're telling. So maybe 3 or 4 stories, maybe one about conflict resolution, one about communication, and maybe one about collaboration, because those are general behavioral interview questions. And being able to articulate those through your strengths that you've identified are really great ways to make sure that you are reflecting and building on stories that you can talk about when it comes to your career.
But I think this is a great example of career cushioning, because if you're very stressed out and you feel like there's sort of a situation that you're dealing with, it might be hard to like think back and pull out those best stories and to think about how to tell them in the best way, because that's sort of creative and meditative. But if you're doing that in advance, like you can kind of be noodling it over for months and sort of thinking back and and sifting through them, and it can almost be a creative pleasure.
Yeah.
But if you have to do it urgently, it feels like much more onerous.
And you don't have to do it alone, right? There's probably a work friend, a co-worker.
Yeah, with a smile like a steel trap.
Your group chat that's like, hey y'all, when is the time that I had to deal with some stuff at work? And they're gonna remind you. You can be like, oh right, because you can ask someone who you've turned to who may remember for you, right?
Yeah, that's really true.
And so I think the second thing is about visioning. So we talked about reflection. I think the second thing is about vision. And so something that I have, I'm really into books, so I'm going to need to read yours.
There you go.
Living in 5 Senses.
Yeah.
And so we are going, what I think about is what I learned from Gay Hendricks in the Big Leap, and talking about being in your zone of genius, right? Your zone of genius is something that you are really, really good at, right? Something that you find fulfillment in. And your zone of excellence may be something that you're better than most people at, and you can make a living off of, but it's not your zone of genius, right? And so when it comes to visioning, I always think of how can we not live in our zone of incompetence, which is something that, we're not really good at, but a lot of people try to fix themselves to be good at, which you don't have to do. How can we not live in our zone of competence, which is something that we straight in, you know what I mean? And how can we change something that get out of our zone of excellence into building a career in our zone of genius? Building a career, what kind of certifications? How can we lean into those strengths so that we are visioning a career that we are really, really, really deepening what we really love to do? So I think that is all very scary. It's a leap, like Gay Hendricks said, but I think that when we're talking about our career, we really, really need to think about that vision to be very concrete so that we're taking the steps and the goals and the opportunities in order to meet that vision.
But in fact, sometimes getting fired is a great transition. And I know a couple people where they were in their zone, what did you call it? Their zone of
zone of genius.
No, they weren't in their zone of genius. They were sort of
the opposite.
They were like under the zone of excellence. So they got laid off. They were in zone of competence. So they weren't that engaged and they weren't doing great work. They were fine. They got laid off. And then because they were forced through this transition, they got into their zone of genius. And so then they looked back and they were like, I'm so lucky that I was forced to do it, because if you're doing fine, you settle into inertia, and they were forced to make a transition, which in the end got them to that zone of genius where they really did bring their A game.
And that comes back to the clean slate, where after that was an instigating moment. They had a complete
They were
opportunity
forced
to,
and maybe at the time it felt very difficult and challenging, but then the clean slate actually wiped away everything, allowed them to have the fresh start and the new habits and the genius.
I think that should be added to the brag file or the brag book, right? Like,
Yeah.
when has your clean slate worked for you?
Yes,
Because that
is
gratitude,
so true.
you may not know what's happening behind closed doors working for you. I'm a religious person, and so I think that there's ways or things that are happening beyond me, beyond that I can understand. And so sometimes I think this may not be happening to me. It's happening for me, right?
Oh, yes.
And so it's really, really important to just not understand or not think about what's happening right now, but when has time and time again things have come up for you that you realize, I'm so happy that happened.
Right.
When you look in the reflection.
Well, that is another moment
reframing.
of reflection as well.
Yeah.
I could talk about this for hours.
So good.
we are out of time. I do want to give you each a moment to tell everyone who's watching like where they can find you, what you're up to. So Nyani, I'll start with you.
Yeah, so you can link with me on my LinkedIn. There are some book me for one-on-ones to talk about how to stay ready. And you can also find a career click sprint. So I'm doing a stay ready so you don't have to get ready 2-week sprint. So that's how you can connect with me.
Love it.
And I have a book coming out in April. Nyani mentioned it, Life in 5 Senses. Yeah, and I have a newsletter here on LinkedIn called Work Happier, and I will be doing, in honor of the 5 Senses, I will be doing a limited edition series of newsletters about using the 5 senses at work and in life, and you can find that on LinkedIn by searching for Gretchen Rubin.
Awesome. Well, I'm really excited to dig into that. Nyani Tolbert, Gretchen Rubin, thank you so much for being here.
Thank you, Scott.
And please make sure to follow our guests, Gretchen Rubin and Nyani Tolbert, on LinkedIn and wherever else you find them. Is there a trending topic in the world of work you'd like to hear about? You can let us know in the comments. Until next time, I'm Scott Rising, and thank you.